This is Jill Pack with the Seasons of Joy podcast. This is episode number 102, entitled, Now What? Are you a woman of faith who is struggling to navigate your current season of life? Do you feel like life is just happening to you instead of for you? My name is Jill Pack, and I'm a certified faith-based life coach and a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I want you to know that no matter your season or your circumstance, it is possible to create a more joyful life, and I would love to show you how. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, my friends. Welcome to this week's podcast episode. I'm so glad you're here. I hope this episode finds you well. I'm really excited about this week's topic. I think it's going to be a useful one. I hope anyway, that it's something that you can start doing today, using in your life today to help you move forward, to create wanted change in your life. I think this simple tool is going to help you do just that. But before I get started, I wanted to remind you about my upcoming workshop, Navigating Midlife with Grace, Strengthening Connection with Self, Others, and God. And I, again, am so excited to offer this. I have 3 guest coaches coming to join me. It's going to be amazing. So if you're a woman of faith in the mid-season of life who has or feels like you have lost connection with yourself or with a relationship that you have with someone or even with God, right? This workshop is perfect for you. And like I said, I'm bringing 3 other amazing women to create this experience where we will share tools that will help empower you to deepen those relationships. This is an opportunity to gather with other women of faith in a safe and supportive space to share experiences and to connect with one another. This is an in-person workshop, and it's going to be held March 23rd, so it's coming up. It's not far away, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Cache Valley, Utah, and it's just going to be about 10 miles outside of Logan, Utah. We will be incorporating mindfulness and restorative yoga practices throughout the workshop to provide you opportunities to be still and to reflect on what we are talking about, what we're learning about. There's going to be multiple opportunities to be coached or at least watch coaching live. I love this because it allows us to see the things that we're learning applied to real life circumstances and situations. So you can learn more about this workshop, the Navigating Midlife with Grace workshop, by visiting my website, www.seasons-coaching.com/workshops. Registration is going on now until Friday, March 15th, and it is going to be limited to 35 women. We would love to have you be one of them. So now on to this week's episode. I've been thinking about this idea for a while now, and I am excited to share it with you today. Years ago, when I was struggling in some of my relationships, I felt very helpless. I felt like it just was where I was at, and it's just how life was going to be, and I felt like a victim to all of it. Maybe you have felt that way, or you still feel that way, and it feels pretty hopeless and disempowering, doesn't it? One day, I realized that it didn't have to continue to be that way. I didn't have to continue to feel that way. I really could be in the driver's seat of my life experience, but I had to make a choice. Did I want to stay stuck, believing life was just happening to me and feeling hopeless and disempowered for the rest of my life? Or did I want to figure out the answer to the question, now what? In working with my clients, we get to a point where we've figured out what they're struggling with, and we've identified what the problem is, and we also discover how they have, in a way, contributed to the experience and what this has created for them in their life. That awareness is so important. But again, there is now a choice to be made. Do they want to stay where they are? And they can. Or Are they ready to move forward or towards something different and begin to create something more enjoyable, more beautiful in their life? Self-awareness alone does not help us move forward. Once my clients realize that their beliefs are creating their emotions, which are fueling their behaviors, which ultimately create their experience, then they have this tendency, as did I, to shame themselves. They go from blaming, right, their spouse, their kids, or someone or something else outside of them, to believing that they should just get their act together and they should just do better. They should just be different, right? They move from judging the things or the people outside of them to judging themselves. This is a pretty common pattern, yet it does the exact opposite of what they really want, and it keeps them stuck in shame. It's so important to understand that once we have gained awareness, we have to couple it with acceptance and compassion. This is what I call the progress formula. Awareness plus acceptance plus compassion equals progress. This is where true change can take place. The better we get at doing this for ourselves, the better we can actually do it for other people. For example, once I understood that I was expecting others to be different than they were, wanting them to choose differently, and believing that if they did, then I could feel better. That was huge to realize that didn't change anything. I could let go of the need for things or people outside of me to change, and I could create the happiness within me. This allowed me to drop the rope of unrealistic expectations and the need for control of things that I couldn't control. However, then I began turning those expectations inward. What was wrong with me? Why couldn't I just move on? If it was my thinking, then I just needed to change my thoughts so I could feel better. I wasn't accepting or having compassion for myself, which actually kept me stuck feeling terrible. As humans, we all have this tendency to either blame or shame, right? We've got to find a reason why things aren't going like we want them to. It's easy to get caught in this loop, this never-ending loop, not knowing how to get out of it. It's like this little dance that we do, and many of us get really good at it, right? We bounce between the two, blame and shame, quite easily. But we actually end up standing on our own toes, and we cause ourselves a lot of suffering. So what's the solution? Well, once we gain awareness of what is causing us a problem, we have to apply the rest of the formula, acceptance plus compassion. So what does that look like? Acceptance looks like this: accepting what is. That doesn't mean we love what is. It doesn't mean that we don't have certain conversations or we don't do something different moving forward. It just means we no longer are resisting what is, and we're not trying to control the things we cannot control. So here are some examples. Other people's behaviors, right? Other people say or do things we don't love, but it just is. The words they say or the things they do just are. They really don't have meaning until we attach meaning to them. And again, doesn't mean we love them, but when we fight against it, that's where the problem comes in. The weather. This winter has been interesting where I live. We have been doing a winter-spring dance for the last month. I definitely cannot change the weather, even if I wanted to, right? And I can get mad and I can complain, but it just is. It really doesn't have to be a problem. Or another example is my knee. I have this knee that I had surgery on a few years ago, and it still is giving me trouble. And recently I found out that I'm probably going to have a knee replacement in the future. When? I don't know. I don't love it, but it just is. Or the number on the scale. I don't always love this number, but it doesn't mean anything about me. It just is. It's the gravitational pull of my body to the earth. It's data. It's information. Now I can make certain choices with this information, But a person's value or worth aren't tied to this number. It just is. Or the amount of money that we have in the bank. This is just a number. We may have a lot of thoughts about it and what it means about our situation or who we are as a person, but none of that is true. The amount of money we have just is. It doesn't define us or determine who we are as a person. Again, we may not love the amount of money that is showing up in our account, but it just is. We can make decisions from this information when we can better accept what is, or the past. This is a tough one for many of us. We look at how we handle the situation or a choice we made in the past, and we want to go back and change it so badly. However, the past is in the past. We can't change it no matter how hard we try. Byron Katie says something, and I've referred to this before. When we argue against reality, we only lose 100% of the time. We lose because it's a battle we can't win unless we surrender. Surrender to what is. Again, it isn't about loving what is. It's about accepting what is and surrendering to it so we can move forward. Once we can get to acceptance, then we need to add some compassion. And this looks like understanding that we are all children of God and we came to this earth with our value and worth intact. We were born with it and it can't be taken away. No one is better or worse than anyone else. And we also understand that we're all messy and flawed at the same time. None of us are perfect. We're just going about doing the best we can with what we know and with what we've been given. And we also understand that we have a personal filter. Each one of us has this personal filter or a lens through which we see life. And this lens is such a big part of us because most of the time we don't even see that we might be viewing something totally different than someone else because of this personal lens. It doesn't mean that we're right or that they're wrong. It just means we have a good reason. All of us have good reasons for the perspective that we have. This personal filter includes things like the way we were raised or our past experiences, the color of our skin, the opportunities we were given, our religious or political views, our gender, our culture, our marital status, our trauma, our education, or our professional training, and so many more things, right? And we don't have to judge these filters because we can just recognize them for what they are. And then we can have compassion for other people that have a totally different lens than we do. We all do have good reasons for what we are believing and feeling. Compassion invites understanding, and understanding invites connection with ourselves and others. And I can't remember who said this, but hate comes from a distance, right? When we invite compassion, we really can begin to understand other people, and we can begin connecting with them in the ways that we can. And once we've applied this formula, this progress formula, awareness plus acceptance plus compassion, we can then begin making progress on the path to wanted change. Now, I believe that the first step on this path, and I think we begin this path in all areas of our life. There's not just one path, right? We have different situations, different circumstances that we want to create some change in, right? And so I'm not saying there's just this one path. It's like, it's the beginning, the first step of figuring out what's next in this particular situation, right? And that we do that by asking this question. So now what? This seems like such a simple question, but it is such a powerful one. From that point, you get to decide what you're going to do next. How will you respond? This really is all that you have control over, right? We can either do the dance of pattern reaction, or we can begin creating our patterned response by asking ourselves, now what? There really is a difference between reaction and responding. So for example, let's say your husband didn't fold the laundry like you asked him to. You have a choice to make. You get to show up in your patterned way, which might look like complaining while you do you fold the laundry, or giving him the silent treatment while you fold the laundry, or make passive aggressive comments while you fold the laundry, all while feeling resentful and not really even liking him or you. The way you show up doesn't make him show up a certain way, but it definitely influences how he shows up. We influence each other. He also has a patterned response to the relationship dance that you both typically fall into. So this is one way of choosing what is next, doing what we've always done. Or you could pause and tell yourself, okay, husband, he didn't do what I asked him to do. I don't love that. I wish he would have. But he probably has a good reason for not doing it. I don't always do everything I'm asked to do when I say I will. I could assume that there is no ill intent here, and this really has nothing to do with me, even though I wish he would have done it. Maybe he had a hard day. Maybe he forgot. I forget sometimes too. So now what? It could look like going to your husband and saying, hey, husband, how are you? I noticed that you didn't get the laundry folded like I asked. Is everything okay? And doing that with genuine concern actually invites him to tell you what's going on for him. He may apologize and say that he just totally spaced it, and he'll do it. And he starts doing it. He may say he just didn't feel like it because of something that happened during the day at work and it was bothering him. This gives you the opportunity to listen and support him with something he may be struggling with while you fold the laundry together. Now, this is a simple example, but I think it illustrates the opportunity of choosing what now. Different circumstances and personal filters through which we view them can be more challenging than others. So I don't mean to oversimplify or discount any of those experiences. That is why I introduced the progress formula in the beginning. No matter the circumstance, in order to progress or create wanted change, we have to allow for acceptance and compassion with that awareness first. This builds a foundation that you can stand strong on when you ask the question, now what? This powerful question allows you to step forward from a place of safety and security because you've shown yourself, as well as others, acceptance and compassion. This takes you from disempowerment to empowerment. You become the creator of your story and of your life experience, and it feels so much better. So my invitation to you today is to begin applying the progress formula to a situation you're struggling with. How can you gain more awareness around that situation? What is part of your personal filter that you're viewing your experience through? Can you question some of those things in your filter? How can you show yourself more acceptance and compassion? Is it possible for you to show more acceptance and compassion for the other person? And if not now, that's okay. Start where you are. Give yourself time. And I would even invite you to consider asking the Savior for help in this area. Can He help you see things differently? Then from that place, can you begin asking yourself, now what? How do you want to choose to show up in your life, in your story? That's all I have for you today. Thank you for being here, and I hope you can take something away from this episode that will help you today to become the creator of your life that you were meant to be. Thank you for tuning in to the Seasons of Joy podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends and family. If you want to learn more about me or how to work with me, just visit my website, www.seasons-coaching.com, and have a joyful week.